Hello, and welcome to the second installment in the video series, Knowing Your Green Date. My name is Chelsea Jarvis, and I'm with the Northern Australia Climate Program, based at the University of Southern Queensland in Toowoomba. These videos were made in partnership with Capricornia Catchments and with support from the Queensland Department of Agriculture and Fisheries. The Green Day is the day after the 1st of September that you can reliably receive 50 millimeters of rain within 3 consecutive days. By reliably, we mean in about 7 out of 10 years. This is an important date both for livestock management and pasture production. Today we're going to look at 2 different areas on a property located to the west of Rockhampton. We visited this property in early September 2020, before they had any meaningful rain. This area had a dry summer in 2018 to 2019 and a late start to the 2019-2020 wet season. They finally received good rain in February 2020 and had a strong pasture response, enough to carry them through winter. That said, this particular property operates on very conservative stocking numbers, so the pasture and ground cover was able to be maintained through a few consecutive poor seasons. Capricornia Catchments, headquartered in Rockhampton, was able to get us some great drone footage. This is our first location, and we can see the brown soils on the far side of the road and the black soils on the near side of the road. It's clear the cattle have preferentially grazed on the black soils, and there's not a lot of feed left in that area. We estimate there is about 1,500 to 1,700 kilos per hectare on the brown soils, but less than 500 kilos per hectare on the black soils. It will be interesting to see the pasture response on these 2 types of soils, especially given the significant difference in ground cover. In an ideal world, the cattle would be kept off of the black soils so that it can be allowed to recover for a few weeks after the rains start. These soils are clearly more productive and preferred. Giving the black soils a chance to recover would mean even more productive pasture and better weight gains in the future. Here is another nearby location where we once again have brown and black soils with bluegrass and speargrass, but these pastures for the most part have been empty for about 3 years. In the area fenced off, there is about 3,000 kilos per hectare, which is a great reserve if you need a place to put some cattle or if you picked up some weaners or steers cheap at the market. In the paddock that has been somewhat grazed, mostly by horses, we can see they have also preferentially grazed the black soils. Because of this, Parthenium weed has gotten in there and outcompeted the grasses, making this area less productive than it should be. Our second location is on sandier soils than the brown and black soils we just looked at. This is mainly rosewood and ironbark country, which is more of a sandy loam. That sandy loam will get a really hard top when it's dry or after fires, and then become quite slippery after the rain. Here's an area more dominated by rosewood. We can see there is still quite a bit of standing matter, including roads and bufflegrass. The estimated current amount is about 1,800 to 2,000 kilos per hectare, and while the cattle have grazed some of it, it's clear that they've headed to other areas nearby. With rosewood stands like these, they can become quite dense, which limits their own maturity, as we can see here. Fortunately, these trees can be used for fencing material or other selective logging, which can help thin out the stands. If we move across the creek from the rosewood country, the soils change to be more alluvial with more ironbark and some blue gums. This soil holds water better than the sandier soils, and we can see that it must make the grass a bit sweeter as well, as the cattle have preferentially grazed this country as opposed to the rosewood country nearby. In September, we estimated this country to have only about 700 to 800 kilos per hectare. I'm sure another draw for the cattle is the creek running through this area, and we can see from the tracks that they hang out here quite a bit. Thanks for watching, and join us later in the season to see how these pastures responded to receiving at least 50 millimeters of rain in 3 consecutive days, which is how we define our green date.